The stars around the Sol system had never seen anything like it before. 847 warships moved through space like a metal storm. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The largest ones stretched for miles, their hulls gleaming under the distant light of Earth's sun. Admiral Keithvar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Stellar Dominion. His reptilian skin showed the dark green color that meant he was pleased. Behind him, officers from 12 different alien species worked at their stations. Some had forearms, others had tentacles instead of fingers. A few breathed different gases and wore special masks. But they all shared one thing: complete confidence in their victory. "Sir, we are now entering the outer edge of the human solar system," reported Lieutenant Zexra, her blue skin glowing as she spoke. "Our scouts confirm the primitive species has only one major planet with life." Kethvar's long tail swished behind him as he smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Excellent. How long since we last received their radio signals?" "The most recent transmissions we intercepted are 37 of their years old, sir. Basic, mathematical concepts, simple music, and crude images of their anatomy. Nothing that suggests advanced technology." The Admiral laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. For over 3,000 years, the Galactic Council had been expanding across the galaxy. They had conquered or absorbed 412 different species. Some had fought back with energy weapons, others had tried to hide on distant moons. A few had even attempted to negotiate. None had succeeded in stopping the Council's expansion. Humans would be no different. "What do our scientists say about their development level?" Kethvar asked. Commander Veltar, a tall being with gray skin and no visible eyes, stepped forward. "Based on their radio broadcasts, they appear to be in their early technological phase. They use primitive chemical rockets to barely reach their own moon. Their weapons are still based on explosive chemicals and metal projectiles. They have not even achieved faster than light travel." "Perfect," Kethvar said. "We will follow standard procedure. One show of force, they surrender, we integrate their useful population into our labor forces, and we move on to the next system." The bridge fell quiet as everyone focused on their work. This was routine for them. They had done this hundreds of times before. The Galactic Council's military had never failed to conquer a target species within one solar day. Far ahead of the alien Armada, near the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, something waited in the darkness of space. The USS Vengeance hung motionless among the floating rocks, its hull painted black to blend with the void. From the outside, it looked like just another large asteroid. Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of humanity's first and only deep space battleship. He was 42 years old with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had spent the last 15 years of his life preparing for this moment. "Sir, long-range sensors are picking up the alien fleet," reported Lieutenant Amy Johnson from her communications station. 847 ships, just like the computer models predicted." Morrison nodded. His crew had been training for this day since they were teenagers. Every person on the USS Vengeance had volunteered for what everyone knew might be a one-way mission. "Chief Rodriguez, what's our status?" Morrison asked. Chief Engineer Lisa Rodriguez looked up from her console. She was 38 years old, with black hair tied back in a tight ponytail. "All systems are running perfectly, sir. The gravitational field generators are charged and ready. Weapon systems are armed. The fusion reactor is operating at full capacity." "Good. Ben, what about tactical?" Lieutenant Ben Carter was the youngest officer on the bridge at 29. He had sharp green eyes and the quick reflexes of someone who had spent years playing strategy games. "I have firing solutions on their lead ships, sir. The kinetic projectile system is loaded with tungsten rods. Quantum torpedoes are armed and..." "Ready?" Morrison walked to the main viewing screen. Outside, space looked empty and peaceful, but he knew that in a few hours this quiet region would become a battlefield that would determine the future of human civilization. "Dr. Park, are you picking up their communications?" Dr. Helen Park adjusted her headset. She was 34 years old, with short blonde hair and the intense focus of someone who had spent years studying alien languages. "Yes, sir. They're using standard Galactic Council frequencies. From what I can understand, they're discussing which ships will handle the cleanup operations after our planet surrenders. They seem very confident, Morrison said. Too confident, Ben Carter added. Sir, they're not even running their shields at full power. Their formation is loose, like they're on a parade instead of heading into battle. Morrison smiled for the first time that day. The aliens had made their first mistake. They thought they knew everything about humans based on old radio signals. They had no idea that 15 years ago, a damaged alien scout ship had crashed in the Nevada desert. They didn't know that human scientists had spent those 15 years reverse engineering alien technology and combining it with human innovation. The USS Vengeance was the result of that work. It looked like a human ship on the outside, with clean lines and efficient design, but inside it combined the best of both worlds. Human creativity and alien science had created something neither species could have built alone. How long until they reach optimal engagement range? Morrison asked. 47 minutes, sir, Carter replied. Morrison activated the ship's internal communication system. His voice carried to every corner of the USS Vengeance, reaching all 2,400 crew members. This is the captain. In less than an hour, we will engage an enemy fleet that outnumbers us 800 to 1. They believe we are primitive. They think our planet will surrender after one demonstration of their power. They are wrong. Morrison paused, looking around at his bridge crew. These people had given up normal lives to train for this moment. Amy Johnson had left behind a promising career as a linguist. Lisa Rodriguez had turned down offers from the world's top engineering companies. Ben Carter had graduated first in his class from the Naval Academy and could have had any assignment he wanted. We are not fighting just for Earth today. We are fighting to show the galaxy that humanity will not kneel to anyone. We are fighting to prove that being underestimated is sometimes the greatest advantage of all. The crew worked with quiet efficiency as the alien fleet grew larger on their sensors. Soon the real test would begin. The alien fleet moved into position like a well-practiced dance. Admiral Kethavar watched with satisfaction as his ships formed the standard attack pattern that had worked against every species they had ever encountered. The largest battleships took positions in the center, their massive guns pointed toward the inner solar system. Smaller cruisers spread out in a wide arc, ready to cut off any escape routes. Fast attack ships zipped between the larger vessels, prepared to chase down any fleeing human craft. Sir, we have detected one human vessel, reported Lieutenant Zexra. It appears to be hiding among the asteroids. Kethavar's yellow eyes glowed with amusement. One ship? Are you certain? Yes, sir. Our sensors show only a single vessel. It's approximately 2 kilometers long, which is large for their technology level but still much smaller than our cruisers. The Admiral turned to his tactical officer. Commander Veltar, what is your assessment? The gray-skinned alien studied his displays. The ship appears to be made of primitive metal alloys. I detect no energy shields, no plasma weapons, and no antimatter reactors. It seems to be powered by some kind of fusion system. Kethavar laughed again. Fusion power was ancient technology that most galactic species had abandoned thousands of years ago. It was like finding a civilization that still used fire to cook their food. Very well. We will follow standard procedure. Power shields to minimum levels to conserve energy. Charge plasma cannons to 20%. Fire a warning shot near their vessel. They will surrender immediately. Across the alien fleet, weapons officers began their preparations. The Galactic Council's plasma technology could turn asteroids into glowing gas with a single shot. Against a primitive human ship, even a low-power blast would be devastating. On the USS Vengeance, Commander Morrison watched the alien fleet with calm eyes. They're moving into their attack formation, just like the computer simulations predicted. Doctor. Park looked up from her communications station, her face pale. Sir, I'm intercepting their tactical discussions. They're planning to fire a warning shot. They expect us to surrender immediately afterward. Power levels on their weapons? Morrison asked. Ben Carter checked his sensors. Only 20%, sir. They're treating this like a training exercise. Morrison nodded. The aliens' second mistake. They were so confident in their superiority that they weren't even taking the fight seriously. Lisa, bring our gravitational field generators online. Chief Engineer Rodriguez's hands moved across her control panel. Gravitational fields activating now, sir. We're ready for full defensive operations. The USS Vengeance had been built around a revolutionary discovery. When human scientists had studied the crashed alien scout ship, they had found something the aliens had missed. The ship's navigation system used tiny gravitational fields to plot courses through space. But humans had asked a different question. What if those fields could be made much larger? The result was a defense system unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The USS Vengeance could create powerful gravitational fields around itself, bending space and time like a massive planet. Energy weapons that relied on straight-line travel would curve around the ship. Projectiles would be pulled off course. Even light itself would bend, making the ship extremely difficult to target accurately. "Sir, the alien fleet is opening fire," Carter reported. On the main screen, brilliant purple bolts of plasma energy streaked through space toward the USS Vengeance. Each bolt contained enough power to destroy a city block. The alien gunners had aimed carefully, intending to strike just close enough to demonstrate their firepower without actually destroying the human ship. "Gravitational fields at full power," Rodriguez announced. The plasma bolts entered the area around the USS Vengeance and immediately began to curve. Space itself was warped around the human ship, creating invisible valleys and hills that pulled the energy weapons off target. The deadly purple bolts spiraled around the USS Vengeance like water flowing around a rock in a stream, then continued harmlessly into empty space. On the alien flagship, warning alarms began to sound. "What happened?" Admiral Keithavar demanded. "Why didn't our shots reach the target?" Commander Veltar stared at his displays in confusion. "Sir, our weapons fired correctly, but something deflected them. I'm reading massive gravitational distortions around the human vessel." "Gravitational distortions? That's impossible. No species has ever developed that technology." "Nevertheless, sir, the readings are clear. Somehow the human ship is manipulating gravity itself." Keithavar felt a cold sensation in his stomach. In 3,000 years of galactic conquest, the Council had never encountered a species that could manipulate fundamental forces of physics in ways they didn't understand. On the USS Vengeance, Morrison allowed himself a small smile. "Ben, you may return fire." Lieutenant Carter's fingers moved across his targeting computer. "Kinetic projectile system armed and ready, sir. Targeting the 3 lead cruisers." The USS Vengeance's main weapons were based on a simple human principle. If you can't go through something, hit it harder. Instead of energy weapons, the ship carried massive railguns that could accelerate tungsten rods to incredible speeds. Each rod was only a few meters long, but when moving at a significant fraction of light speed, it carried more destructive power than any conventional explosive. "Fire," Morrison ordered. 3 tungsten rods shot out from the USS Vengeance, invisible to the naked eye. They crossed the distance between the human ship and the alien fleet in seconds. The alien crews never saw them coming. The first rod struck a Zephyrian heavy cruiser amidships. The impact released so much energy that the alien ship's hull simply vaporized. The rod continued through the vessel and out the other side, leaving a perfectly round hole where the ship's main reactor had been. The cruiser broke apart in a brilliant explosion that lit up the asteroid belt. The second and third rods found their targets just as easily. 2 more alien ships died in flashes of light and expanding clouds of debris. "Impossible," Admiral Keithavar whispered. "What kind of weapons are those?" "Sir, I'm not detecting any energy signatures," Commander Veltar reported, his voice shaking. "No plasma discharge, no antimatter explosions, no photon torpedoes. I don't understand how they destroyed our ships." Across the alien fleet, panic began to spread. Ship captains who had been joking about the easy victory suddenly found themselves staring at the wreckage of 3 advanced warships. The primitive humans had somehow destroyed vessels that could have conquered entire star systems. "All ships, increase power to maximum," Keithavar ordered. "Raise shields to full strength. Charge all weapons to 100%. But even as he gave the orders, The Admiral knew that everything had changed. The humans weren't the helpless primitives the Galactic Council had expected. They had technology that no alien species understood. And worse, they had just proven they weren't afraid to use it. On the USS Vengeance, Morrison addressed his crew again. "Excellent work, everyone. But this is just the beginning. They know we're serious now." Dr. Park looked up from her station. "Sir, I'm intercepting frantic communications across their fleet. Many ships are requesting new orders. Some are asking for permission to retreat." "Are they retreating?" Morrison asked. "No, sir. Admiral Kethvar is ordering them to maintain position and increase their attack power." Morrison nodded. The aliens. Third mistake. Instead of backing down when faced with superior technology, they were going to double down on their attack. That meant the real battle was about to begin. Admiral Kethvar's claws scraped against his command chair as he watched his fleet reorganize. The loss of 3 ships had shaken his confidence, but he had commanded fleets for over 2 centuries. He had faced desperate species before. Some had even managed to destroy a few council ships before their inevitable defeat. "Sir, all vessels report ready for full attack," Commander Veltar announced. "Shields at maximum power, weapons charged to 100%. Good. Order the fleet to surround the human vessel. Use formation Delta 7. When they're trapped, we'll hit them with everything we have." Formation Delta 7 was the Galactic Council's standard encirclement pattern. It had been perfected over thousands of battles. Ships would approach from all directions, making escape impossible. The target would be forced to either surrender or be destroyed by overwhelming firepower from multiple angles. Across the alien fleet, 844 remaining ships began to move. The massive vessels accelerated toward the USS Vengeance with the precision of a military machine that had conquered hundreds of worlds. On the human battleship, Lieutenant Ben Carter watched the alien movement with growing excitement. "Sir, they're using a classic encirclement formation, moving in from all directions." Commander Morrison studied the tactical display. Red dots representing alien ships were closing in from every angle. In 30 minutes, the USS Vengeance would be completely surrounded. "They're doing exactly what we hoped they would do," Morrison said. "Danny, are you ready?" Lieutenant Danny Walsh sat at the navigation console, his hands steady on the controls. He was 31 years old, with red hair and freckles that made him look younger than his years. But Danny was the best pilot Earth had ever produced. He could make the massive USS Vengeance dance through space like a fighter craft. "Ready, sir. I've plotted 17 different escape routes through their formation." Morrison smiled. "We're not escaping, Danny. We're attacking." The alien fleet expected humans to behave like every other species they had encountered. When surrounded, most civilizations either tried to flee or waited passively for the final assault. The Galactic Council's tactics were built around predictable responses to overwhelming force. But humans had never been predictable. "All ships tighten the formation," Admiral Kethvar ordered. "Do not let the human vessel escape." "Sir," Lieutenant Zexra reported, "the human ship is moving. It's heading directly toward our main battle line." Kethvar stared at his tactical display in confusion. The human ship was accelerating toward the strongest part of his fleet instead of trying to break through the weakest point. It made no strategic sense. "Are they attempting to ram us?" he asked. "Unknown, sir. But at their current speed, they'll reach our front line in 8 minutes. The Admiral's yellow eyes narrowed. "All forward ships prepare to fire. The moment they come within range, destroy them." On the USS Vengeance, Chief Engineer Rodriguez monitored the ship's experimental fusion reactor. "Sir, I'm pushing the engines beyond design limits. We're getting 40% more power than the specifications called for." "Can the ship handle it?" Morrison asked. "The hull will hold together, sir, but we're running hot. Really hot." Morrison nodded. Human engineering had always been different from alien technology. Where alien species built things to last for centuries with minimal maintenance, humans built things to perform beyond their limits when necessary. The USS Vengeance had been designed with the expectation that it might need to exceed its specifications. In combat, Ben, deploy the proximity mines. Carter's fingers danced across his weapons console. Mine's away, sir. Deploying in Pattern Chaos 3. The USS Vengeance released dozens of small devices as it raced toward the alien fleet. Each proximity mine was no bigger than a basketball, but they contained the same gravitational field technology that protected the main ship. When activated, they would create small gravity wells that could pull nearby objects off course. The alien ships detected the mines immediately, but their sensors couldn't identify what they were. The devices were too small to be warheads and showed no energy signatures. "Sir, the human ship has released some kind of debris," Commander Veltar reported. "Approximately 60 small objects. Probably escape pods," Admiral Kethvar said dismissively. "Their crew is abandoning ship before the final attack. It was the aliens' fourth mistake. They assumed the small objects were signs of human desperation rather than weapons." The USS Vengeance plunged into the alien formation like a sword thrust. The massive human battleship passed between two alien cruisers, its gravitational fields deflecting their plasma bolts. But as the ship moved deeper into the enemy fleet, something unexpected happened. The proximity mines activated. Small gravity wells suddenly appeared throughout the alien formation. Ships that had been flying in perfect formation found themselves pulled toward the invisible wells. Careful spacing between vessels disappeared as the mines created pockets of distorted space. "What's happening?" Admiral Kethvar demanded as his own flagship lurched to one side. "Sir, we're detecting massive gravitational distortions throughout the fleet. Ships are being pulled off course." On his tactical display, Kethvar watched in horror as his perfect formation dissolved into chaos. A heavy cruiser was pulled into a gravity well and collided with its neighboring destroyer. Two frigates trying to avoid the same well crashed into each other. His entire front line was scattered across millions of cubic kilometers of space. The USS Vengeance emerged from the confusion like a shark among minnows. Lieutenant Walsh piloted the ship through impossible maneuvers, using the gravitational distortions to accelerate and change direction in ways that should have been impossible. "Danny, take us through the center of their fleet," Morrison ordered. "Yes, sir. Hold on to something." The USS Vengeance twisted through space, diving under a massive alien battleship, then rolling over the top of a carrier. The ship's gravitational fields interfered with alien targeting systems, making it nearly impossible for enemy gunners to lock onto the fast-moving target. Ben Carter fired the ship's kinetic weapons continuously. Tungsten rods streaked out from the USS Vengeance, striking alien ships that were too confused by the gravitational distortions to maneuver effectively. Each hit was devastating. The alien vessels had never been designed to handle kinetic impacts at such high speeds. "Sir, we've destroyed 18 more enemy ships," Carter reported. "Damaged dozens of others." Dr. Park monitored alien communications, her face growing pale as she listened. "Sir, their fleet coordination is completely broken. Ship captains are requesting new orders, but their command structure can't respond fast enough to our tactics. Admiral." Kethvar felt panic rising in his chest. His fleet was scattered, confused, and taking heavy losses from a single enemy ship. Nothing in his 3 centuries of military experience had prepared him for this. "All ships, fall back to defensive positions," he ordered. "Regroup at coordinate 77 Mark IV. But the USS Vengeance didn't give the alien fleet time to regroup. Morrison ordered another attack run, this time from a completely different angle. The human ship appeared from behind a cloud of debris that had once been 3 alien cruisers, its weapons firing before the aliens even knew it was there. The Galactic Council's perfect military machine was learning what humans had known for centuries. No plan survives contact with the enemy. And the USS Vengeance was an enemy unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Sir, we're losing ships faster than our computers can track," Commander Veltar reported, his voice cracking with stress. Admiral Kethvar stared at his tactical display. In less than an hour, his mighty armada had been reduced to a confused mob of damaged ships. The humans had turned his greatest strength, numerical superiority, into a weakness by making it impossible for his ships to coordinate their attacks. The first time in his long military career, Admiral Kethvar began to wonder if the Galactic Council might actually lose this battle. The bridge of the stellar dominion was filled with the sounds of panic. Warning alarms blared from damaged systems. Officers shouted reports of destroyed ships. The smell of burned electronics filled the air as overloaded computers tried to process the impossible battle data. Admiral HFY gripped his command chair with white-knuckled claws. In 2 hours of fighting, his mighty armada had been reduced from 847 ships to fewer than 400. The USS Vengeance continued to tear through his fleet like a predator among prey animals. "Sir, the human ship is approaching Sector 5, Lieutenant Zexra reported, her blue skin now pale with fear. Destroyers Keen Edge and Swift Strike are moving to intercept. On the main screen, they watched the human battleship emerge from behind a cloud of glowing debris. The USS Vengeance moved with impossible grace, its black hull reflecting the light of exploding alien vessels. As they watched, both destroyers opened fire with everything they had. Hundreds of plasma bolts streaked toward the human ship. For a moment, it seemed like the concentrated firepower might finally overwhelm the strange gravitational defenses, but the energy weapons curved away harmlessly, bent around the USS Vengeance like light around a black hole. The human ship returned fire with its kinetic weapons. 2 tungsten rods struck the destroyer Keen Edge, punching through its shields and armor like they were made of paper. The alien ship broke apart in a silent explosion that lit up the darkness. "Impossible," Commander Veltar whispered. "How can one ship do this to our entire fleet?" Admiral HFY had no answer. Everything he knew about warfare, everything the Galactic Council had learned from 3,000 years of conquest, was useless against the humans. They fought with technologies and tactics that no alien species had ever developed. "Sir, we're receiving surrender requests from over 60 ships," Zexra reported quietly. The Admiral's heart sank. His crews were losing the will to fight. Ships that had conquered star systems were asking permission to retreat from a single human vessel. It was the most humiliating moment in Galactic Council history. On the USS Vengeance, Commander Morrison studied the tactical display with satisfaction. The alien fleet was scattered across millions of kilometers, their formations broken, their coordination destroyed. Many ships were limping away from the battle with damaged engines and failing life support systems. "Sir, we've destroyed or disabled over 450 enemy vessels," Ben Carter reported. "Ammunition supplies for kinetic weapons are at 60%. "Excellent work, Ben, but I think it's time to show them our final surprise." Morrison turned to Chief Engineer Rodriguez. "Lisa, are the quantum torpedoes ready?" Rodriguez checked her displays carefully. The quantum torpedoes were humanity's most devastating weapon, built using principles that human scientists barely understood themselves. They had been reverse engineered from the alien scout ship's power core, but human modifications had made them far more dangerous than anything the aliens had ever created. "Quantum torpedo tubes loaded and ready, sir. All safety systems are active." Morrison nodded. The quantum torpedoes weren't just weapons. They were controlled experiments in the fundamental nature of reality itself. Each torpedo contained a small device that could temporarily destabilize the fabric of spacetime. When properly activated, they didn't just destroy their targets. They erased them from existence. "Ben, select a target, something that will get their attention." Carter studied the alien fleet carefully. "Sir, there's a heavy battleship trying to rally the smaller ships. If we take it out, the rest of their fleet might lose all coordination." "Perfect. 1 quantum torpedo, maximum yield." The USS Vengeance launched a single torpedo toward the alien battleship. To outside observers, it looked like any other projectile. There was no energy signature, no visible trail, nothing to indicate that it carried the power to tear holes in reality itself. The torpedo struck the alien battleship amidships and activated. For a split second, nothing seemed to happen. Then space itself began to twist around the impact point. The battleship's hull didn't explode or burn. It simply ceased to exist. Molecular bonds broke down at the quantum level. Atoms separated into their component particles. Within seconds, a ship that had been 3 kilometers long and housed 5,000 crew members was gone, leaving only empty space where it had been. The effect was visible across the entire alien fleet. Where the battleship had been, There was now a perfectly spherical region of distorted space that bent light and twisted sensors readings. On the stellar dominion, every alien officer stared at their displays in stunned silence. Where did the hammer of justice go? Admiral Kethavar asked in a voice barely above a whisper. Sir, it's gone, Commander Veltar replied. Completely gone. No debris, no energy signature, no distress signals. It's like the ship never existed. Dr. Park monitored alien communications as panic spread through their fleet. Sir, I'm picking up transmissions from across their armada. Many ships are reporting equipment failures. Others are requesting immediate evacuation. They've never seen anything like the quantum torpedoes. Morrison activated the ship's external communications system. It was time to offer the aliens a choice. This is Commander Jake Morrison of the Earth battleship USS Vengeance. I am speaking to Admiral Kethvar of the Galactic Council Fleet. The transmission went out on all alien frequencies, translated into Galactic Standard by Dr. Park's communication systems. You have entered our solar system with the intention of conquering our planet. You have fired upon human vessels. You have threatened the lives of 4 billion innocent people. This aggression ends now. Morrison paused, letting his words sink in across the alien fleet. You have seen what our weapons can do. We have destroyed over half of your fleet with a single ship. We can continue this battle until every one of your vessels is destroyed or damaged beyond repair, or you can choose to withdraw immediately and never return to human space. Admiral Kethvar listened to the human's words with growing dread. The primitive species that was supposed to surrender without a fight had just offered him terms of surrender. You have 30 seconds to begin your withdrawal, Morrison continued. Any ship that does not immediately set course away from our system will be considered hostile and destroyed. This is your only warning. The communication ended, leaving the alien fleet in stunned silence. Sir, what are your orders? Commander Veltar asked. Admiral Kethvar stared at the tactical display. His once mighty armada was scattered and broken. The humans had demonstrated weapons that could erase ships from existence. Many of his remaining vessels were already damaged and barely combat capable. Sir, we're receiving reports from across the fleet, Lieutenant Zexra said. Multiple ships are suffering critical system failures. The gravitational distortions from the human weapons have damaged our navigation computers. At least 80 ships are requesting permission to retreat for emergency repairs. The Admiral closed his yellow eyes. He had two choices: continue the battle and watch the rest of his fleet die, or accept the most humiliating defeat in Galactic Council history. Sir, the 30 seconds are almost up, Veltar warned. In the distance, the black shape of the USS Vengeance waited motionless among the asteroids. It looked small and insignificant compared to the massive alien warships. But Admiral Kethvar now knew that appearances could be deceiving. The humans had taught the galaxy a lesson that would never be forgotten. Sometimes the most dangerous predator was the one that everyone underestimated. The 30 seconds felt like an eternity to Admiral Kethvar. Around him, his bridge crew waited in tense silence for orders that could determine the fate of their entire fleet. Warning lights flashed red across his command displays, showing the positions of human weapons locked onto his flagship. Sir, multiple ships are reporting critical damage, Commander Veltar said quietly. The Night Serpent has lost main power. The Iron Fist is venting atmosphere. The Starcrusher's weapon systems are completely offline. Admiral Kethvar looked at his tactical screen one last time. Less than 400 ships remained from his original armada of 847. Many of those were damaged and barely functional. The humans had achieved something that no species in galactic history had ever accomplished. They had defeated the Galactic Council's military in open battle. Sir, 15 seconds remaining, Lieutenant Zexra warned. The Admiral made his decision. All ships, this is Admiral Kethvar. Begin immediate withdrawal from the Sol system. Set course for the nearest Council stronghold. Maximum possible speed. The words tasted like poison in his mouth, but he had no choice. His duty was to preserve what remained of his fleet, not to sacrifice every ship and crew member in a hopeless battle. Across the alien armada, engines began to power up. Ships that could still move started turning away from the inner solar system. Those too damaged to travel under their own power sent out distress signals. requesting assistance from their surviving companions. On the USS Vengeance, Dr. Park monitored the alien communications with growing excitement. "Sir, they're retreating. The entire fleet is beginning withdrawal procedures." Commander Morrison allowed himself a moment of relief, but he kept his expression calm. "Maintain weapons lock on. Their flagship until they're clear of the asteroid belt. We don't want any last-minute surprises." Ben Carter watched his targeting displays as alien ships began to move away from the battle zone. "Sir, some of their damaged vessels are having trouble maintaining course. Should we assist them?" Morrison considered the question carefully. The humanitarian part of him wanted to help the injured alien crews. But the military commander in him knew that showing too much mercy might be interpreted as weakness. "Negative. Let them handle their own rescue operations. But if any ship breaks off from the withdrawal and approaches us, destroy it immediately." Chief Engineer Rodriguez looked up from her console. "Sir, our quantum torpedo systems are showing some instability from the recent firing. I recommend we avoid using them unless absolutely necessary." "Noted, Lisa. How long until the alien fleet is completely clear of our system?" "At their current speed, approximately 4 hours for the fastest ships. The damaged vessels will take longer." Morrison nodded. It would be a tense few hours, but the immediate threat to Earth was over. On the alien flagship, Admiral Kethvar composed the most difficult message of his career. He had to report to the Galactic Council that their supposedly invincible fleet had been defeated by a single ship from a primitive species. "Communications, open a priority channel to Council headquarters on Zephyr Prime." "Channel open, sir." Kethvar took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Kethvar reporting from the Sol system. Mission has been unsuccessful. The human species possesses advanced defensive and offensive capabilities that our intelligence reports failed to identify. Recommend immediate revision of threat assessment." He paused, knowing that his next words would shock the Council leadership. Human forces have demonstrated gravitational manipulation technology and quantum-based weapon systems that are superior to our own. They have destroyed over 450 Council vessels with minimal losses to themselves. I am withdrawing the fleet to prevent total annihilation. The response came back within minutes. The Council's Supreme Commander spoke in the ancient, formal language reserved for the most serious communications. "Admiral Kethvar, your report is difficult to believe. You are ordering to maintain position and await reinforcements. The Council is dispatching additional fleets to your location." Kethvar felt his blood turn cold. "Sir, respectfully, sending more ships will only result in more losses. The humans have weapons that can erase vessels from existence. They have defensive systems that make them nearly impossible to target. I strongly advise against additional military action. Your recommendations are noted, Admiral. However, the Council cannot accept that a primitive species has defeated our finest fleet. You will hold position until reinforcements arrive." The communication ended, leaving Kethvar staring at a dead screen. The Council's pride would not allow them to accept defeat, even when faced with overwhelming evidence. They would send more ships and more crews would die, but first those ships would have to get past the USS Vengeance. Commander Morrison received Dr. Park's translation of the alien communications with grim satisfaction. "So they're planning to send reinforcements?" "Yes, sir. From what I can understand, the Galactic Council is refusing to accept the Admiral's report. They think he's exaggerating our capabilities." Morrison walked to the main viewing screen, where the alien fleet was slowly disappearing into the distance. "How many more ships do you think they have?" Ben Carter checked the intelligence files that had been compiled from the captured alien scout ship. According to their own records, the Galactic Council has approximately 15,000 warships spread across their territory. This was just one fleet. 15,000, Morrison repeated quietly. The USS Vengeance had proven that human technology could defeat alien ships, but even the most advanced vessel couldn't fight odds of 15,000 to 1. "Sir, we should contact Earth immediately," Dr. Park suggested. "They need to know about our victory and the possibility of future attacks." Morrison nodded. "Amy, open a channel to Earth Defense Command." Within minutes, Morrison was speaking directly to Admiral Sarah Martinez, the head of Earth's military forces. He gave her a complete report of the battle, including the alien fleets, withdrawal, and the possibility of reinforcements. "Congratulations, Jake," Admiral Martinez said when he finished. "You and your crew have done something incredible, but you're right about the bigger picture. One ship won't be enough if they send their entire fleet. What are your orders, sir?" "Come home, Commander. We have work to do." As the USS Vengeance set course for Earth, Morrison addressed his crew one final time. "Ladies and gentlemen, today, we proved that humanity will not kneel to any alien empire. We showed the galaxy that being underestimated can be the greatest advantage of all. But this is just the beginning." Morrison looked around at the faces of his crew. Amy Johnson, who had learned to speak the languages of a dozen alien species. Lisa Rodriguez, who had helped design weapons that could reshape reality itself. Ben Carter, who had outfought military computers that had been perfected over thousands of years. Danny Walsh, who had piloted their ship through impossible maneuvers that no alien pilot could match. "When we reach Earth, we're going to share everything we've learned. Our scientists will study our weapon systems and build better ones. Our engineers will design new ships based on what we've discovered. Our military will train new crews using the tactics we've developed." The bridge crew listened with pride and determination. "The Galactic Council thinks we're primitives who got lucky. They're going to send more fleets expecting to crush us easily. But they still don't understand what they're dealing with." Morrison smiled as Earth grew larger on the main screen. "They're not fighting just one ship anymore. They're fighting all of humanity. And we're just getting started." Behind them, the alien fleet limped away into deep space, carrying news that would forever change how the galaxy viewed the small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. The age of human expansion was about to begin, and the universe would never be the same. The USS Vengeance had fired the first shots in a war that would determine the future of galactic civilization, and humanity had every intention of winning.